All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to Side Radio, everybody. We have rising rock singer here, Will Fletcher. How's it going today, Will?
It's going great, man. Going really good, Rob. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Thank you for asking, sir. It's good to have you on the show finally.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, how's the music industry treating you these days?
Very well. It's actually treating me very well. I just did a client this morning. I did a bass student in Boston, Massachusetts. We started in Boston this morning, and he gave me a 5-star review. I just saw I got a 5-star review from a student in Boston, doing this groovy interview with SYT Radio, the coolest podcast around, and got a student later on today. And also, too, it's going well in a lot of ways with the digital downloads. I have to say, I have a distributor, tunecore.com. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's one of like the main distributors where you can put your stuff. It's where you can upload your stuff and sell it to the world,
Okay.
with albums.
Okay.
And I've got a pretty good little kitty. I saw. It's encouraging, I would think, for all artists, all musicians. You always hear about how there's no money to be made in records now and stuff like that. And I just have to say, I looked at a balance that I had accrued or have accrued over the last 3 or 4 years, and it was pretty good. It was surprisingly good. I kind of took it for granted, honestly. You put albums out because you have enough songs. See, on my website, we only put the singles out. I do a lot of work with students and clients,
Okay.
and we usually only put the singles out from those albums. Like, just the singles will go out. The albums, you have to buy the album to hear the whole rest of the songs. Whether that might be 12, 13 songs, you got to go and get the album. You have to go and have put the album out or
Right.
listen to the album. So that being said, I love doing albums and I love making albums, but I've had the mind for a long time of, well, let's just do singles. Let's just put out singles. Let's just put it up at the website, let people dig it there, at places like SYT, stuff like that. So I actually took it for granted. I went there the other day and was like, whoa, I didn't know I had accrued that in 4 years. I mean, really, or 3 years, or however long the albums have been out, or whatever calculation that was. It was encouraging. I think it's a good time right now for music. I think it's a good time for original music. People need to start going back to listening to music again.
Right, right, right. And I mean, I would also throw in along with that, I think it's a good time to get back to playing instruments.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
I it,
imagine,
Essential. Yeah, I think so too, man. I think that it's plugins and stuff like that are great. I mean, they're okay, but it's just not the same as when you have a group of people, or one person or two people, a duo, whoever it is, if they're doing it themselves, if it's organic and being made by the artist, that's always the best. That's always the best.
absolutely,
It's always the best.
absolutely. It's kind of like I get this. I have this thing with movies. I'm not sure if
They're
the two of
horrible
you.
now, man. I mean, they're
They're
other.
just remaking everything. Like everything's a remake.
They're awful. Yeah, they're
Can we get
terrible.
some
They're terrible.
originality?
No, I know, I know. Well, man, it's like what happened to the music industry like 20 years ago, like 20 odd years ago. The music industry got like that. Like, you kept hearing people say, "Oh, it's so staid and there's nothing really new and this and that." Well, whatever it is that's doing that, it needs to be broken. That seal needs to get broken. Whether or not it will, I don't know, but it needs to get broken because movies are going down the tubes, man. I mean, they're just that new Indiana Jones just looks like a joke, man. It looks horrible.
And
I
I'm a
mean,
big fan of Indiana Jones.
me too, me too. Yeah. I mean, it's like, what are they doing? I don't know. I don't even think they're making money anymore. I don't think they're making money. I think that they know it's going straight to stream. and they'll pay Harrison Ford his salary. They have enough. Those big studios have enough to pay salaries to get those people in it. But I just can't see that they're making any money. They wouldn't make them that bad. They wouldn't make them that bad if there was money to be made. I don't believe. I just don't. You know.
The narrative has definitely been changed, like you said, many years ago. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I guess
hopefully,
time will tell.
yeah, and like I said, and stuff like the FCC ruling, that 96 ruling we were talking about, that they need to break the monopolization. They need to break that, and that's going to move new music way forward, because you got to remember Nirvana, which in rock and roll is probably the last big hoorah that we had. It really was. There's been, but that was before all of that. That was before that 96 agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get too much on that, but I'm just saying that, new music has to find a way through places like this, through you guys, and through, it just to find a way to start to get in there and be heard again, and to start being the thing that you listen to. There'll always could be like, oldie stations and stuff. But
Right.
This idea that like something that was recorded in 1971 is current is bogus. It just is, it just is.
Right. So,
Right.
offhand, why don't you tell everybody where you're from and
Um,
what it is that you actually, you don't just sing. From my understanding, you also produce other musicians.
Yeah, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I got going doing instruction about 14 years ago, 2009. I got with a company, TakeLessons.com, out of San Diego, and they're a great company, fantastic company. And they've just steadily over the years just gotten me clients. And then word of mouth started happening. He's a good instructor, this and that, and you would just get them from town, from here in town. You would just start getting calls from people here in town. And, through the instruction, there's such a world of things that, like I found that students they love working on original material. They love working on original material because it's from the ground up. You're kind of learning from the ground up. You're not copying somebody. You're learning from the ground up. So, I love working with my students. I love that. And yeah, just, through working with different people, your writing chops, if you've got good writing chops, working with different people, I started producing. I've produced this fellow, Bright Aku. He's a Nigerian artist, and he has a couple albums out, and produced a girl named Michelle Williams. She's coming back. So yeah, it just all feeds in. My gig has turned into this kind of thing where everything's feeding in. Everything's feeding in to one groovy thing. To put it in a nutshell,
I can dig it. Now, you
Yeah.
have a guest here with you. Why don't you introduce your guests that you have?
That is my lovely wife, Janine Fletcher. She's taking time out from her gig to
Hi, everybody.
watch the festivities. And yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Janine. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Not a
And-
problem.
And she's been great, man. She's been a great, she's solid as a rock. She's behind every cool dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to toot my horn, but
I can dig it, man. Happy wife, happy life.
There you go, baby. There you go.
So, Janine, what in the music part of your husband can you attest to?
All of it. He's just a genius at songwriting, and he can play just about every instrument I've heard of. He tried to teach me something, but I have very little musical talent, so I just have the ears.
All right.
I can hear it's good.
All right. You sound like me. I just love music. If it sounds good, I like it. I don't care what kind it is, who it comes from. If it sounds good, I like it.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Will, what do you want your fans to know about you?
Well, just that, we're just coming from all of this is just coming from a real good place. It's just coming from a real good organic place. We're having a great time. And I think that just shines through. I think that comes through in the music and stuff like that. And just that I'm a multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, musician who does his thing playing music. And to look out for the albums that are out right now, the main records that are out right now is an album called Roarin'. It's funny, dude. Like I thought of that name before Alexa. And Alexa, the best ones are the ones that are phonetic. Like if she says, "What do you want?" and you say, "The vaccines," play the vaccines. That's better than Roarin' One. Roarin' One. Well, I've had two albums, Roarin', ROARIN'1, and then Roarin' 2, which came out in 2019, right at the end of 2019, like 2-3 weeks. It's crazy, dude. We went up to New York. I went up to New York to mix it. I mixed it in New York and did some extra recording in New York. And we had a blast, man. It was like December of 19, and we had such a good time when we were there. And like 3 weeks later, dude, COVID hit. I mean, I felt like Dracula or something, dude. You know what I mean? Man. I felt like I had like touched something up there. It was weird. But so anyway, 2 albums there, and then The Vaccines was a double album. The Vaccines, it was used just a ad hoc name, just a fake name, just a pseudonym. But it was me and students. I had a bunch of students on that record. So it was called The Vaccines. We called it The Vaccines, like a little band. Gotcha. And dude, I think that one's doing pretty well. I got a little congratulations. I don't know if it was a typo or some AI disaster. I don't know what it was, but it said congratulations, the 6 billion club. Now that was plays, I think. I think it was plays. It wasn't sales. I mean, it wasn't sales. But anyway, I got this crazy flyer that said congratulations about 6 billion plays, and I just attributed it to whatever. I didn't know. But then, like I said, I saw the results. I saw some results, and I was like, well, man, maybe this might be getting played around the world. I hope it is.
Right. Well, you definitely are here, and we boast a global audience, so you're definitely being played around the world with us.
Oh yeah, man, and it sounds great too. I'm so, like I said, you guys were so awesome, Rob. I mean, it's like more music people, because I do what I do well at what I do. I'm good at what I do, and I do well at what I do. I know what I'm talking about on that. Mm-hmm. More people need to have this relationship that we had, where it was like, okay, man, I have some songs. Would you play them? And you said, yeah, I'll play them. And I sent them, and I said, did you play them? You said, yeah. I mean, as simple as that. That needs to happen. I think that could happen a lot more. I think that could happen a lot more.
And I definitely hope it does. I hope that this is the foundation right here. I'd like to be the foundation of that happening.
Because a lot of artists, I mean, like, podcasts and stuff like that, they don't know where to go, man. You know what I mean? They don't really know where to go, or they're like, I'm going to send it out to somebody I don't know, and it's going to just go wherever kind of thing. For some reason, I did, this was really cool and linear, and it was just I think it was really cool like that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, you mentioned something. One of my other questions was going to be, you kind of touched on it a bit. How has COVID affected your ability within the music industry? How has it had an impact on you, if it has had one at all?
Honestly, Rob, it didn't, because we kept going. I kept going. I mean, when COVID came in, I just said, it was defiance. It really was defiance. It was just like, we're not stopping. We're not going to stop. And I just had clients keep coming. And luckily, fortunately, my clientele, they were all very, very ready to keep on going too. There wasn't any, as a matter of fact, stoppage. There wasn't any, we're going to have to go out because of blah, blah, blah. and I just kept going. We just kept going. We just said, man, we're just going to keep on moving. And I thank God we did that, because I think if I had stopped for 6-7 months, or obeyed some kind of thing, which now we know is bogus, pretty much, you know what I mean? If I'd have done that, it would have not, I think it could have not never recovered, if you just stopped it cold and then tried to keep going. But you had a good amount of momentum. You had a pretty good amount of momentum anyway going, and it was just like, man, we got to just keep on. We got to just keep on going,
Because no stopping you now, Will.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you, my man.
So,
thank you.
Why don't you tell us what your likes and dislikes about the industry are?
I like the freedom. I like the freedom of being able to do what you want to do, for the most part. Do what you want to do and have it be exactly how you want it. The kind of artistic control. I like that. I wish there was more places. I wish what would happen, Rob, is maybe like, people need to start undercutting Ticketmaster, and people need to start, like, I wish I don't want it to sound dorky or idealistic, but it would be cool if rock and roll shows could come back. You know what I mean? And if people would buy that, like some Barker or some cat somewhere, you know what I mean? Rent out a fucking roller rink, you know what I mean? Or something, and have, and I think the promoters, I think right now, if it's not the biggest of the big, like Taylor Swift Ticketmaster, if it's not that, I think the promoters and people of the like, they need to be a little bit more, they need to give the artist a little bit more nurture, and they need to give the artist a little more attention, a little more care. And I think a lot of times the promoters at these clubs and places, I think they can pony up and do the promotion. You know what I'm saying? I think that if they promoted a lot of stuff more, I think it would have a chance to, it needs to creep into the public conscience of, oh yeah, this is cool to do. Mm-hmm. This is cool. This is cool. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because for so long, they've been kind of like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Right. I don't know. Yeah.
So what's to stop you, Will, from kicking this off?
Well, not much. I'm here at a radio station. Yeah, we need to start. We need to start calling. Get Luke Combs in here or somebody.
So brings me to my next question. I was going to ask you, what are your limits? But it sounds to me like you have no limitations.
No limitations. No limitations, really. Okay. The only thing I foresee happening more and happening in a cool way is the live performance. It's nothing that I'm looking like I'm pining for. You're okay in what you're doing, but I think the live performance, that would be a cool next step. But
I'm sorry. How about this? How about doing a live performance in front of thousands, millions, however many fans live in person, but at the same time, you're doing it online like this in front of other fans that cannot be there.
Yeah. That would be amazing. That would be awesome too. And that needs to come in more. I think you would agree that, if that can start happening, man, if they can get it with AI coming up and all that, and, all that chat GPT AI stuff where, you can look like a Martian from Mars or something like that. If they could blend the technology visually, the visual technology, to like some kind of show, like something that we could put on here that could be seen, and it be done right, which we're getting close to where that can happen. You're right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like a band set up and doing like a show. And what I'm foreseeing is the band could do a show, and you could have like the lights could be created. a lot of cool things on the visual could be created by just the effects that the computer has,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
You understand? You understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
I'd love to see that, and like you say, I believe we're headed there very soon. I've got something, that I've been brewing up for you musicians. Would like to give and offer this platform for
Mhm.
stuff very similar. You
Mhm.
know, do a setup, whether it's in your garage, and you can
Yeah.
reach out to your fans, and they can reach out to you.
Well, Rob, it's already going on, dude. I mean, I was in Boston, Massachusetts at 9 a.m. this morning from the comfort of my home, from the comfort of our home. I was in Boston, Massachusetts at 9 o'clock in the morning via remote, got paid. The company you were with paid you after the gig. You know what I mean? No, you didn't have to load anything. You didn't have to travel,
Oh yeah,
deal with, a lot of crazy
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, man. So, I think it's starting now. I think it's starting
Mhm.
now, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I believe we need to see more of it. It is starting now. You're right, but I believe that we can do better. I believe that it should be a lot more.
We need to get one going on here. We need to get, I need to get a live show going on here at some point, you know.
Hey,
Yeah.
that'll be the
Yeah.
next. That'll be hopefully the next one
All
for
right,
you.
man. All right, man. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right.
So, who in the industry did you idolize coming up, or do you still idolize coming up?
Well, when we were coming up, we got that last wave of the big, of the 60s cats, the
Hmm.
60s and 70s cats.
Hmm.
They were still riding the wave. Hell, they
Hmm.
were still riding their wave in a humongous way. So I started out with metal, like on MTV and stuff,
Okay.
as a kid, metal on MTV and
Hmm.
whatever was on. And, you got into the Beatles, really hard, you got into the Beatles really good.
Little Pink Floyd.
All, yeah, a little Floyd, little Floyd here and there. More as you got older, you got into Floyd more as you got older. But we had a good steady diet of just good, you know. But at the same time, I was coming at it from more of a classic rock. I had been influenced by that enough, but I had other influences, and like certain band members, as a songwriter. This is kind of weird, but like when you're a songwriter and you're starting out with bands, I tell students this: if you're a
Right.
songwriter, you're going to have cats in your band. You're going to have one guy on bass who's like the biggest Metallica head that's ever lived.
Right.
And
Right.
then you're going to have a drummer who's the biggest Police fan that ever lived. He likes to do
Hmm.
Stuart Copeland, ska type stuff.
Hmm.
So I would write. I remember when we started out, I would write, for myself first, what I thought was cool, but also too, you were kind of writing to other to placate the other members of the band. You know what I mean? It was kind of a good school to work in because you were
Hmm.
writing all kinds of kind of thinking of all kinds of different material. You know,
Gotcha.
and at the time, that was when that huge explosion was coming in from Seattle too, the whole new music
Hmm.
explosion. So not only did you have the older cats who were 40, who were in their like mid 40s, still kicking ass and taking names,
Hmm.
that you would listen to their stuff and be like, that was cool. But you had
Hmm.
all that new stuff coming in too. It's
Hmm.
very, musicians today, bro, kids coming up today, I work with some of them. They've got it hard, dude. I mean, they've got it harder than we did, bro. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I mean, they really do. As far as like I worked with a girl who said she was born in 2000, right? And
Right.
she goes, and her quote was, she was like, all I've ever been fed is shit. That's what she said, man. That's what she said. She was like, I've only ever been fed shit. And I was like, well, I mean, it hasn't been that bad, but you know what I'm saying? We got it. Point is, we got a good, I think when we were coming up, it was a little more fertile creatively. I think there was more of a zest for creativity, which I haven't lost. I never lost, thank goodness, but there was more of a zest for creativity than there is now. With all the tribute bands you see and stuff. I mean, anybody's got to make whatever anybody does musically, for money is awesome. I mean, that's the coolest thing ever, man. I respect it immensely. But I think that's where you're seeing that stuff. I think people are just like, we got to get like we were talking about earlier, man. We got to get some originality back on top, not on the bottom, not riding the radar under, things that were around 50 years ago, but kind of getting back up on top,
Right. Yeah, man, 100%. I agree with you. So if given the opportunity, who in the industry would you want to work with? And I ask that because it's not necessarily the same person that you grew up idolizing all the time. There could be somebody today, that's just getting started, just getting going, that you may love to work with that person. Who do you see in the industry, old, new, doesn't matter, that you would love to work with? And why?
That's a tough one. I always said I'd like to make the last Chuck Berry record, but he's been gone a long time. I always said I'd love to produce Chuck Berry. That would be such a cool gig to produce a Chuck Berry record. But I don't know. As far as artists that are around at the moment, I'm trying to think. I don't know if there is one. I can't really think of one. I don't right off the bat. There's too many. I've got so many. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's fine. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So, do you see yourself at this point in time in your career as having any more short-term or long-term goals? And if so, what are they?
Well, the long-term goals I think are to, with the growing of these remote gigs, I love doing these remotes. I'm doing one out. I've done in the past couple months. I've done one out. I'm doing one to LA and Boston right now. I'm going to LA Saturday, so I'm going back and forth between Boston and LA. But I've had, in the last couple months, one of them had to drop out right off the bat, but they were in Napa, California, this beautiful part of California. I love doing these remote lessons because it is such a trip. It's like you're getting to tour, but you're doing it from the comfort of your own volition, kind of thing, right? So I think
one stone.
Sure, man. And I think if there's any goals, I think it would be, and I don't know, like I said, it's not that you miss it really, but I think live, I think a goal might be doing some live ass whooping, at some point in the next little bit. Yeah.
So is that where you see yourself in the next 5 years from now? Possibly.
Yeah, I could, and keep doing what I'm doing, and keep getting cool clients and maybe producing more. I can definitely see that more too. I can definitely see more producing and
so
stuff
you're
like
just
that.
starting with the producing.
Pretty much. I've done it for about the last, 5, 8, 9, 10 years, about 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to start. Matter of fact, maybe with this girl, Michelle Williams. She's supposed to call me. She's been supposed to call me forever. And she's a great client, man. She's an awesome client. I mean, yeah. So more producing. I definitely could see more producing and maybe some live stuff. But it's got to be good though. That's the thing about the live thing again. It's again about the promoters. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to toot horns. I'm not trying to sound like a badass or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But I make a pretty good living. I make a good living doing what I do, and I'm comfortable in what I do.
Right.
So a lot of these promoters, man, for live stuff, the trick is, it's like, man, you got to come up with the goods, man. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And whether or not they have the wherewithal or the money or even care to whatever, that's neither here nor there. But you want to tell them, man, you need to be coming up with a good offer. You need to be offering something other than just whatever,
Okay. So
Yeah.
with that being said, is there a genre out there that you would like to try to work with, or a different type of style of music that you'd like to collaborate with, or anything like that? If
Yeah.
so, who and why, or what type and why?
There's always, we're working at a country radio station, like working here at a country radio station, and
Hmm.
being a rock artist, you're always going to have that kind of, you can kind of skip back and forth between country and rock
Hmm.
kind of thing. Like if you're a rock artist, it's not that hard to go country.
Hmm.
It's very finite.
Hmm.
Those country cats are clever.
Hmm.
The songs they write are they're country. They're their own
Hmm.
thing. But a rocker, you'll hear songs on country radio that you're like, well, that could be a rock song. That could be,
Hmm.
I could hear that on whatever.
Hmm.
So you always have fun doing country stuff. I always like that. But as far as any genre, I would always like to do, you always kind of have a thought of like maybe doing your cool Kraftwerk album, your cool album of like synth, of like
Hmm.
drum machine
Okay.
sounds
Okay.
and synths, yeah, something like that. You always can see that.
Okay. So you get back to the basics, so to speak.
Yeah,
Sort of.
yeah. Just some old like gnarly old synth, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what message do you have for the younger would-be artists that are coming up in the industry today,
Just
that are trying to make it?
Well, just believe in what you're doing. You got to believe. You can't be wavered. You can't be faltered. You have to believe in what you're doing. And what I tell a lot of them is today, I tell a lot of them, it's best to learn more than one instrument. It's best to learn more than one instrument. And it's best to be able to do everything yourself,
Mhm.
because, and that's not saying fuck bands, tell everybody to fuck off and don't join a band. But, it's so hard in this day and age, we all
Right.
know, to get 5 people together
Mhm.
that are going to have the same tunnel vision for any longer than 6 months. You know what I mean?
I
So
do.
I get on them a lot, learn how to play every instrument, or at least dabble in it. And
Right.
another thing I tell them to do is to get into recording, because as we were talking earlier, I think it's going to have an upswing. I think new music and original music is going to come up again. And I think it's always good when a younger person, when they record, they hear themselves. When they
Mhm.
record something, they hear it back. They
Mhm.
hear how good it is. They hear how bad it is. They hear whatever. So I always stress that it's like, get into recording, get into hearing yourself back and recording, because that fuels original work, where they're not just churning out, they're not just doing whatever, Steve Miller at the O'Charlie's, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's like, and so yeah, young artists today, and just
Mhm.
believe, man. Just if you want to do it, just get out there and start doing it. And it's gonna the climate, the climate can look pretty gnarly, but you just gotta just you gotta find your way around that motherfucker.
Mhm. Amen to that.
Yeah,
Amen to that.
right,
So,
right.
to that being said, what are some of the obstacles that you have had to overcome on your journey? And what would you tell the young up and coming artists? Hey, you know, this is what I had to overcome, because you are a producer as well. So I'm curious
Well,
to know, and I'm sure the fans are, what you tell your young musicians that you are producing.
just that, they need to be going to the places.
Hmm.
Honestly, man, honestly, they need to be going to the places where the money's going to be at.
Right.
However they do that, and
Hmm.
they need to be going to, if they've got a marina gig, that if they're working someplace and they hear about a marina gig that's opening up, get it, try to get it,
So
try to
take as
get it
many of these jobs as possible.
as possible. Try to, and doesn't matter what it is. If you're playing at an insurance seminar, you know what I mean. Take
Mhm.
it, take it,
Right.
because then you start building your confidence. It starts
Mhm.
building your confidence. Every one of those times that you get appreciated for doing what you do, When you see real appreciation, it's going to build your confidence. It's going to build your confidence, and you're going to start thinking that you're a musician. You're going to start, that mindset's going to start kicking in.
This
No,
is
I
what
don't.
I do.
Yeah, I don't work at Ace Hardware. I
Right.
don't work here. This is what I do, and, and it's, shame to say, but, a lot of that has to do with, being compensated and being appreciated, Yeah, that's the word. Appreciated, appreciation, appreciated. It does. And I guess that was the main obstacle. Yeah. When we were coming up, see, dude, we came up, we were Kurt Cobain. We came up in the time, dude, of they didn't want no money. You know what I mean? They all did. They all did, but they didn't want to be famous. They didn't want girls screaming. They didn't want to be famous. They didn't want money. They didn't want to fly in planes. They didn't want to do any of that. That's why rap took over, because rap most certainly as hell did want, you know what I mean? Money and all. Yeah.
Right.
So we came up at that time where, hell, those promoters would look at us, and hell, just to be up there, hell, it was like, well, we're giving you free beer and a place to play. What the hell else you want? That, it was that kind of thing,
Right.
Yeah, and you should be happy with it. You should be like, well, I think I found Valhalla. You should be like, completely content with that. And of course, nobody was.
Right.
It was like, we're not being appreciated. You're not being appreciated.
Right.
And it was just that, that was a huge struggle. Because hell, we were in the thing that it was supposed to be cool. Yeah.
And with change, everything changes. And a lot of people don't understand that. One thing changes and say, well, I can come in and bring this in, but I'm not realizing this has changed. So it's not going to be the same for me when I come bring it in.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think people get caught up in that a lot. But
yeah.
And with that being said, what are some of the hardest, more difficult types to deal with in the industry that you've encountered?
Let's see. The ones, I guess the hardest types, that's a tricky one. I guess the ones that are like you said, real more just set in their ways, real set in their ways, and just just don't they don't really have a vision, but they think they have all of it or something, yeah. And that comes through bands a lot, they're always in bands. I think there needs to be one or two. There needs to be two cats who are doing the stuff, and the rest of the people need to kind of go along with it. They need to like gladfully go along with it, in a cool way. It needs to be worked out cool, but that's very hard to do. So yeah, so I think I think that's probably the hardest people that I've worked with or whatever.
Okay, and on the flip side, what are some of the easiest personalities that you've worked with?
The easiest personalities are the ones who they really like to get in and mix it up and do like original songs and just do it and put it out there and like I worked with a girl, Lindsay Howard, and we worked for 4 years. I got her a scholarship to musical theater at the University of Alabama.
Okay.
And, she did a lot of dance too, Go Dance. She was in this cool dance company, real hip dance company, where they did all these cool shows and stuff. And she was just such a free spirit, I would always tell her, I'm like, as a vocalist, you don't just copy, you got, when you start out, you want to ape your heroes, but you want to find your voice. And the way to do that is original material, is original work. And she jumped in at it like a fish to water. I mean, she would send me lyrics and stuff, through the week, by email, and would, want to change this and stuff. So the best ones are the ones that just, they trust you, and they're ready to just kind of just get in there and mix it up, and be creative, be a creative individual,
Awesome. Will, You have answered pretty much everything in a very professional manner that I've thrown your way. I only have
Well,
one last question for you. This has been an
thank you, good
exclusive.
sir.
I
Thank you,
love it.
sir.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
so
been amazing. It's
this
been
has been an
great.
exclusive. So
I've had a ball, my man.
likewise. Last but not least, the message is always in the music.
Mhm.
What is your message and what are you trying to say to your fans and followers in your music? They want to know. We all want to know.
have let's have a good time again. Let's have a good time again. Let's listen. Let's love. Let's learn. Let's rejoice. Let's embrace new things. Let's have a good time. Let's have a good time. This is rock and roll. This is right. This is supposed to be a good time.
Go back to making it
And
fun and not a job. Let's go back to
make it
making it fun
make
again.
it make it fun and try to stay out of the swamp as much as you can. That's my motto. Yeah,
The
right. Yeah,
Gators get you.
yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, man.
All right.
Um,
Well, once again, Will, this has been fun. Janine, thank you very much for joining us as well. Did you have anything that you wanted to ask Will?
No,
did you
I'll
get
ask him
coffee?
later.
I said.
You're gonna get it when you get home.
I said, did you get coffee?
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Well, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, Rob, I've had a blast, man. I'm gonna get out of here and go do my client now.
Likewise, I know I got to let you run. You're a busy man.
Well,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Will.
sir.
It's been fun. We're going to get you back on here, onto the set. You're going to do your own thing next time you get on here.
All right, man. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'll holler at you here in just a bit.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You guys have a wonderful day.
You too, man.
Groove on.
Bye bye.